The football team laughed because a girl showed up to tryouts. They didn't know I could smoke them all in my sleep. I showed up ready to compete for quarterback, and the entire team stared at me like I'd walked onto the field naked. The coach asked if I was lost because cheerleading tryouts were in the gym. When I said I was here for football, he actually laughed and said, "Sweetheart, this is full contact, not powder puff. You're gonna get hurt." I told him I'd played varsity at my previous school, and he rolled his eyes, saying, "Playing catch with your boyfriend didn't count as football experience," which was ridiculous considering this team hadn't won a game in 2 years and desperately needed actual talent. The quarterback, Graham, who couldn't have been more than 5 feet 8 inches and maybe 140 pounds soaking wet, strutted over and announced that having a girl on the field would be distracting for the real players. His backup, Zeke, added that football required actual strength, not just looking cute in yoga pants, and asked if I even knew what a down was, or if I thought it meant something I do on my knees. The whole team cracked up, even though half of them looked like they'd struggled to bench press the bar, and they'd gone 0 to 10 last season. Coach had me line up to run drills, but kept explaining every single one like I was 5 years old, demonstrating how to hold a football while the team snickered, not knowing I'd been throwing perfect spirals since I was 7 because my 5 brothers used me for target practice in the backyard. Graham said they should put pillows on me so nobody accidentally hurt the princess, which was rich coming from a guy whose highlight reel was fumbles and interceptions. They made me go last in every drill, and when I lined up to throw, coach told me to stand closer because girls' arms weren't built for distance. Graham grabbed the ball from me first and showed me the proper grip, mansplaining about laces and release points like I hadn't thrown for 3,800 yards last season. When I finally got to throw, Zeke stood right behind me and put his hands on my hips to fix my stance, and whispered that I should stick to sports where I could wear something tighter. During tackling drills, coach said I could skip them since obviously I'd never taken a real hit before. But when I insisted, he made this big show of getting the smallest guy on the team, Joey, who was maybe 5 feet 4 inches, to demonstrate. Joey didn't just pretend to tackle me gently, he actually grabbed my face mask and yanked my head sideways, saying, "Oops, girls' necks must be weaker," and coach just laughed, saying that's why women shouldn't play. The team started chanting "Powder Puff Princess" while I tried to straighten my helmet. The offensive line, none of whom could have been over 200 pounds, started discussing what would happen when I got my period during a game. Carl, the center, said I'd probably cry about cramps and need to be carried off, and Greg, the tackle, asked if they'd have to stop the game every month for my woman problems. They kept asking increasingly invasive questions about how I'd handle a cup or if I even wore one, with Graham finally saying he'd volunteer to check if everyone really wanted to know. Then things got physical when Graham decided to show me a real hit during what was supposed to be a non-contact walkthrough. He drove his shoulder into my ribs when I wasn't looking, knocking me flat and knocking the wind out of me, then stood over me saying, "That's what happens every play, princess. Still want to be a football player?" While I gasped for air, Zeke poured his water bottle on my face, saying I looked like I needed cooling off. Coach pulled me aside while I was still catching my breath and said I was being selfish, trying to prove something that would get someone killed. He grabbed my face mask and shook it, saying my neck would snap like a twig, that his players averaged 180 pounds and would destroy me without trying. When I didn't quit right then, he made me sign a paper saying my family wouldn't sue when I got paralyzed, writing "when not if" in huge letters while the team watched. The team started a scrimmage and made me participate, but told me I was playing permanent victim, meaning I'd take every hit from every drill. They weren't blocking for me at all, just letting defender after defender take free shots, and after the 5th hit where Greg deliberately stepped on my hand with his cleats, Graham announced they should practice accidental injuries that happen when girls don't know their place. Carl snapped the ball directly at my face twice, claiming his hands were too sweaty. Finally, coach said I had one chance to throw a pass to prove I belonged, or I had to leave forever. The whole team lined up to watch me fail, with Graham saying, "Try not to throw like a girl," as he tossed me the ball, and I was about to unleash the same 60-yard bomb that won us state finals, when I heard a voice behind me say, "Still underthrowing your deep roots, Chloe?" My blood went ice cold as I turned around and saw Haley walking onto the field in full gear carrying her helmet, here to try out just like me. She was the only quarterback in our league who'd outplayed me, who'd beaten me for league MVP by 1 vote. Suddenly I realized that after taking all this abuse from guys who couldn't even play, I was about to get shown up by the one person here who could actually destroy me, and she was another girl. Full story on the channel below.